Hello to all of our Onyx Collected members and fans of Onyx wines. First and foremost, all of us here at Onyx wanted to thank our collected members and fans for the outpouring of emails and phone calls, orders that we've received over the last couple weeks during this crisis. The outpouring of love and support has just been phenomenal, and it's allowed all of us to stay here, keep working, and keeping on. So as many of you have heard by now, we have announced the release of our 2017 Black Orchid, a brand new vintage of the Black Orchid, and I'm here to talk about that wine a little bit. This vintage is especially exciting because it's a culmination of a lot of new techniques and practices in making Petit Syrah that have drastically changed the wine for the better. And much of that has to do with the fact that Petit Syrah on its own is this boisterous, loud, tannic beast of a wine. And we've put a lot of energy and effort and experimentation into finding new and creative ways to make it balanced and nuanced and able to be paired with food, and really something that can age for a long time to come. And as many of you know, we do a lot of events year after year, winemaker dinners, pairing ourselves with very talented chefs, and really the reasoning behind going that direction is to try and make this wine very food friendly and make sure that when we put it on a menu with a meal, it doesn't dominate that food, it works with it and helps it sing. We've really achieved that in 3 ways. Number one is that we varied up the times that we pick our Petit Syrah. We do various early and moderate picks of the Petit Syrah at varying chemistry levels. Number two is we planted an entirely new clone of Petit Syrah out at the Onyx Estate. This is clone 4, library clone Petit Syrah, and compared to the other clone, we pick it much earlier, lower sugar, which translates to a lower alcohol. It just has screaming acidity. So for you chemistry nerds out there, this is something that's a little bit more towards 14% alcohol and 3.2 pH. And that acidity is really proven to cut through those boisterous tannins and opulent flavors that the other clone of Petit Syrah tends to put out. And then thirdly, we started co-fermenting our Petit Syrah with some of the Syrah from the Onyx Estate as well. What that's allowed us to do is longer maceration times, longer time on the skins for the Petit Syrah. We've typically done 7 to 8 days on the skins for Petit. Co-fermenting on the Syrah allowed us to achieve 14 days without over-extracting, and the result were broad, velvety tannins that are just expressed all the way through on this wine. Really excited to share this one with you. As I said, I hope you guys have picked up a few extra bottles of it and can watch this one flourish through the years.
Could you comment on the oak profile received by the 17 Black Orchid?
Yeah, in 2016, we made a change on the Black Orchid and started aging it in entirely 500-liter puncheons. The softer oak approach on that really lended itself to the balance that we were looking for. So entirely aged for about 18 months in puncheons, and about 50% of that is new. But given the larger vessel, it's just a breadth of oak that we were looking for.
Could you comment on the concept of Petit Syrah being called a quintessentially American variety?
Well, obviously it has roots in Europe, but as it's been cultivated and created and invented into wine here in the US, it's become a bit of its own wine, different from anything else made anywhere else. And I think that lends itself to call it very quintessential Californian for sure.
Is there anything petite about Petit Syrah?
Nothing at all. Not at all. It's a big brooding force. And we love that about it. At the end of the day, we love balance, and we're always achieving that.
Is there anything you do differently with the variety on the processing line?
We do a lot of cluster sorting to fend out any sort of any rot or any overdeveloped raisins clusters. That tends to lend itself to a lot more fresh fruit, a lot more stable chemistry, frankly. And when we do go to extract, we make sure that we're extracting just the best tannin.
What are your favorite food pairings with Petit Syrah?
anything sultry, savory meat, anything that this wine can seep into and really develop the flavors in there. So I really love it with a good cut of steak.
Right on. Would you care to show our crowd on the map behind you which blocks this comes from?
Yeah. So the main block of Petite Sirah is up here. This is our 101 block, and that's clone 3. This is a block that was planted back near to 2008. So it's an older block, and this is a little bit more of the opulent, rounded, big, boisterous Petite Sirah block that we use. And then the other block is down here in the lower field, more of our, what we call our river bench block, where it's a little closer to the river, a lot more water, and a lot cooler. And this is that library clone that just exhibits so much acidity and so much ability to balance out the other clone.
And lastly, would you care to comment on what anniversary Black Orchid is celebrating this year?
That's right. So the very first vintage of Black Orchid was in 2008. So the 2017 would be our 10th anniversary of this wine.
So one to drink up and one to save. Enjoy.